So we don't name call.
No.
Thank
No?
You might not. I do. So
It's not going to bring you closer to each other. But I think it's fair to say, okay, if you want me to clean up after myself, you have to clean up after yourself too.
But I don't want to give like I'm not going to do it unless you do it.
No. You don't have to say that. You can just say,
pick them up.
if you want me to clean up after myself, I need you to clean up after yourself too. Or
also,
this is something that I know that this bothers you and I'm trying. This is something that bothers me. I need you to try here too.
let's try and exercise all of us together, and we're just gonna pantomime this. Here's what we're gonna do. When we get home at the end of the day and I'm gonna peel this off. That feels so good. Maybe instead of just like, I'm gonna put it right on the table, we go to the garbage can, which automatically opens when your hand's in front of it, and we go boop. And then, of course, because it's a fake eyelash and it has glue on it, it's going to stick to your finger. So you'll need to take your other hand and take it off. But it's stuck to this hand now. So then you need to get a paper towel and take it off, and then you're done.
So here's what's going to happen when people live in close proximity. They're going to annoy each other.
And
Yes.
buy a bigger house.
Right? Oh, no, that's not the answer.
In this economy, I know. Welcome to Playing House, the podcast about keeping your relationship sexy and secure. I am the petty and paid Kolter Bouchard.
Period. And I am Dominique Bouchard. And we are a real couple having real conversations, inviting you in as our third.
And we also have a fourth for you today. We're switching things up a little bit with our very first in-studio guest. Technically, episode 10, we had some guests in a studio, but we were actually using their studio.
Yeah.
It was Gina and Drew Wilder. And anyway, today this is our own studio, and we have our own guest, and it's psychotherapist Roxanne Francis. And what a delight.
Listen, I am fangirling because I am such a huge fan of her work. And we talk about mental health really often on the show and seeking support. And it's such a privilege to have her because she's a Black woman. Can relate to that. She's a mother, can relate to that. A wife, and she owns her own clinic. And just having her explain her experience and answer some of your questions is going to be super exciting.
And some of the things she focuses on, parenting, racial issues, and
couples therapy.
Yeah, and also apparently she's got, and I just got a text. She just texted me about this. Apparently she's got a great apple cobbler recipe.
What are you talking about?
I was like trying to think of pies and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Peach cobbler? Yikes.
Could even say like she makes a mean mac and cheese or something. Apple cobbler, absolutely.
I also just was like, what would not be like offensive?
Okay.
Like we have a guest. We're excited to have her here.
She's going to be answering some of your questions.
And also like trying to figure out this whole thing. But first, let's check in. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing really well.
You doing good, bud?
This is week 1. Thank you. Week
No
1.
more corporate job, baby.
Full-time for my damn self.
Yes. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congrats to us.
Congrats to, but me mostly, and
no,
you
truly,
too,
because now
I
you
get
get
to work
more
with
of
you.
me. You're welcome.
Sure. This is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Good
so
for
it hasn't
us.
set in yet. I uninstalled Slack, which was a big deal. Not having to log in and check who's talking to me, who needs something of me.
What's the sound that Slack makes?
You always ask me,
I
and
was gonna go,
can't make that
uh-oh,
sound. No,
but
that's
that's ICQ.
ICQ. Yeah.
Okay.
Jinx. Yeah. So it feels good. It feels good. It feels like I'm on vacation still. Like I'm used to having like a week away from work, but it hasn't set in yet that like next Monday I'm still not going back.
But like this is
back.
work, so like you got to do this.
Well, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this while doing my full-time
Other
corporate
stuff.
job. So it feels really good to like be able to sit down with the team, sit with you, strategize, dream about the future.
Yeah.
Come up with a plan. Like it's starting to feel real what we're doing, but it hasn't yet set in that I'm not going back.
That's wild.
Well, you should
Good
know.
for you.
You should know.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to talk about the last week?
There's not much to say. I mean, there's no tea. I mean,
Okay.
you had tea. I'm drama free in my life.
Yeah. I just mean like the transition. Like it's, you were there for a couple of years. And,
Yeah.
And also I think just after working in like the corporate world for a dozen years, right? Like it's a transition. So like what has that been like for you?
Again, it felt really natural. It felt like a natural conclusion to my time there.
Yeah.
Like I can genuinely say I came, I saw, and I conquered. And it felt like, okay, I did all I came to do. It's not that I hit a ceiling per se, that feels like a negative way of framing it, but
You graduated.
I graduated.
Yeah.
And one of my goals coming into 2024, and we spoke about this in our 2024 vision episode, One of my goals was to give myself a promotion. And quite frankly, I knew I wasn't going to get it in my job, or at least like I wasn't going to get the promotion that I knew I'd be able to give myself. It was time for me to lean on us.
Sure.
So here we are.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Like,
Thank you
I'm so
so
proud of
much.
you. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Happy for the business. The business is growing. We added another member to the team. Shout out, Peter.
Shout out, Peter.
What's going on, son? Love that. Love that.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It like I said, it's so nice to have you. It's so nice to have you working full time for this business, our corporation. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Are we the bad bosses now? Look at that.
The team, are we the bad bosses now?
Don't make eye contact.
They all
do not look into my eyes.
Sorry, sir.
I can't.
Kyle says, sorry, sir.
I cannot wait to like just be toxic as hell.
Oh, yeah. To like cancel.
Yes.
Like to say, we're going to have a pizza party and then cancel it. And
Not
say
even.
productivity is down.
Not even. What's worse than a pizza party? Just the crust.
No, potluck. Say
And then we cancel
everybody
that.
must bring a dish, and then everybody spends their night
Yep.
cooking, and then we say canceled.
Because of
Productivity's down.
cultural issues also.
What?
It's hard to fight that one. We don't have an HR. I'm the HR department.
No,
Not a good situation for
Not at
anybody.
all. Not
so
at all.
there's that.
not at all. But you're doing well.
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's officially summer. That's not true. Summer officially starts at the end of June, but it feels really summery, you know?
It does. Yeah.
It's nice. I've been thoughting it up.
Yes,
thoughting it
you
up in them
have.
streets.
Can we see this outfit?
I feel like this isn't super thoughty. But
but
you
I
can
love
see
the arms,
you can see
though.
the one vein in my arm.
Ew.
I'm like, what are we doing here?
And then the white shirts.
Yeah, crisp.
I'm gonna hug you later.
You are absolutely not. We are not getting any makeup on this goddamn shirt. I'll tell you that for nothing.
To be fair, everybody in your comments was like, "Get your wife the one size setting spray."
So
Got
for
it.
context, we
Yes.
went to an event with Netflix. They had us out, and you had a full beat on, right? And I was wearing a white
always.
shirt like an idiot. And then we posed for a picture, and you hugged me.
No, that's not what happened. Tell the truth and the whole truth, sir. We were reenacting the scene from Love is Blind where they open the door and you run towards the partner who you chose and see for the first time. So when I ran towards him, he decided he's going to pick me up and spin me. And in the video, you see me screaming, like, put me down. And then when you let me go, your shirt was covered in blackface.
The victim blaming
Oh.
over here. The victim blaming.
Yes.
Can you believe it? I can, because I'm used to this.
Oh, good. Good
Yikeroo.
for you. Good for you.
So that ruined a shirt. That's fun.
Did you just use OxyClean?
I don't know what I did.
You
think I
didn't do
just left it
anything
out for
and
you to do.
complained
Yeah.
and took to the internet.
Anyway, people said to get this one. They're not a sponsor yet, so do not give the name of the product. Did you already?
No.
I don't think so. Anyway, you got this like a setting spray.
Yes, and
so
it's
what does that lock it
everybody
in?
was raving about it. Yeah, setting spray is supposed to like lock in your makeup,
Okay.
mattify it sometimes.
Yeah.
The one I got does. And we've been at it since 8 a.m. and it's later than 8 a.m. I have no idea what time it is. But it's still there. It has not moved, and I'm an oily girl.
You are.
What?
I'm agreeing with you. I'm affirming you.
What?
You're oily. Yo, you're oily, fam.
Like, I feel like I can call myself oily. You can't turn around and
Why
call
not?
me oily. I don't know. As a Grenadian, something about me takes offense to that.
You get like the coconut oil.
Yeah, we
That's when you're nice and
coconut oil for
oily.
everything,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Didn't need any coconut oil last night.
Oh my god.
If anything, we needed to like dry it up a little bit.
You know what? That's a good hack. Actually,
moist.
if you don't know about this, coconut oil makes a great lube.
Yeah.
Unless you use condoms, then it can like break down the condom.
Then
so
don't use that.
it. Yeah.
But also, like coconut oil doesn't really like it doesn't like taste like anything really.
It tastes
But,
like
it-
coconut.
It does not taste like coconut. It tastes like nothing. Well, it tastes like your junk, but it like has the essence.
Why my
Like it
junk?
has a nice aroma. You know
And
that
I'm
also
still
has a
caught
nice
on my
aroma.
junk.
Yeah, what do you want me to call it? I don't want to get
Something
demonetized.
pretty.
You're pretty junk.
Okay.
Your refuse. What's like
What? Are we talking about the same thing?
we need like a thesaurus. What's like another word for junk?
I feel like we can say the medical name.
Vagin?
Vagina?
Yeah. So big fan of that. Big
My
fan
vagina?
Of you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And everything else around it. Most days. Most days. Also the dress.
Most days.
Talk about the
You're
dress.
saying a lot of problematic stuff today.
So it looks like it's blue and green. That's fun.
Yeah, showing a little bit of body.
Yeah. Oh, it's the heat map.
Yeah, so I got a request from Kolter. What did you say? You want one of those?
Heat map dresses
Right.
where you can see the titties.
Yeah, so that's what I'm delivering today.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Plenty of titty. Tiddy. Plenty
Okay.
of titty. And the legs look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're killing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing this with you and expanding and
Any conflict this week? Any conflict? Just like any drama? Any tea?
what tea can I have working from home now?
Plenty.
So
Plenty.
we had couples therapy this week.
Yeah.
That was a very you know when they bring up your childhood?
Oh, God.
They bring up stuff from your
Just
past
like
that you
leave it in the past.
right that you managed to like bury
Repress.
and exactly and
Yeah.
not necessarily grow from, but like ignore for a while.
Bottle up.
Brought it right back out. So that was a little bit dramatic for me. That was
Sure.
a little bit of tea. But other than that, you and I have been having an incredible week.
Yeah.
I especially because I'm taking the week off before I go full force, full time.
Yeah.
And you made this beautiful set.
Yeah, well,
Shout
me and
out
the
to
boys,
you.
me, Kyle, Peter,
Yes.
got to clap them cheeks last night. Not
Excuse
not
me,
Kyle's and
no,
Peter's.
the team did not.
No, I got to clap yours,
Okay,
and that was great.
all right.
It wasn't great.
No, it was excellent. Thank you so much.
Love that
Went
for
right
you.
to sleep right after.
You
Thank
did.
you. Yes.
You were in a coma afterwards.
okay.
Afterwards,
I didn't.
Otherwise, that would be very illegal. All right. So, speaking of imminent divorce, Roxanne Francis, psychotherapist, like we mentioned, and we are so excited to welcome her to Playing House.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm such a fan of your work. This is so exciting.
Okay, you don't need to fangirl so much here. This is
No,
your show.
it's all
You're here. Right. Okay, so when we're talking about couples therapy, what are some of the boundaries? What are some of the barriers, I should say, keeping couples from pursuing it?
Well, I think, the barriers for couple therapy are probably the same barriers that keep single people out of therapy. Just the stigma around what it means to go to therapy, right? I'm not crazy, or we can handle this ourselves, or I don't want anyone in our business, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't want to go to couple therapy, or one person in the union might not want to go to couple therapy because they think that they're going to be seen as a bad person, right? Or the therapist is going to take the side of one party and I'm going to be on the out. And so that can sometimes prevent people. And quite frankly, the cost is not, we know in our society that therapy is not cheap.
Are you taking a side, though? Like, you know how everyone says, like, I don't have a favorite child. Like, we all have a favorite child, right?
Well, as a mom of 2 children,
You've got a favorite.
Definitely does.
You've got a favorite.
I will say that I don't have a favorite child. I love them in different ways. Like I have a kid who is very, very sporty and just always bubbly, and he's a people person. But every once in a while he just tucks right in and goes, I love you, mommy, for like no reason. And it just melts my heart. And the other kid is just always warm and, with the hugs. And so there's in different ways.
Yeah.
In one season, I'm like, I love you more. And then another day, I'm like, I love you more. So you can't really pick a favorite, right? And I think with
Well, it
couples,
didn't even bring up the other kids, so, right? I think we know.
with couples, sometimes we identify more with one person. But as a therapist, if you're a seasoned therapist, then you have to learn how to check yourself and ask yourself, am I identifying more? Why am I identifying more with this person? Is it fair to the other person, right? Okay. We really have to, because we're humans, right? And from time to time, you might find yourself leaning more to one side, and you have to remind yourself that you're here for them both. You're not here for one person or the other. You're actually here for the relationship, and the relationship requires both.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about a lot recently is like, it's not us versus each other. It's us versus the problem. And so you're kind of saying the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I say that all the time. You're not fighting against each other. You're fighting for each other.
You just wanted to hear that he said it right, and that the therapist is backing him up.
Who's your favorite now, Roxanne? One for Kolter.
So we've done therapy a couple of times. Like
Yes.
we've had 2 different couples therapists, and the first time we went was because we were in the depth of it, and we were coming to it, like it was going to end if we didn't fix it at the time.
Wow. Okay. Well,
You knew this.
now I do.
And then more recently, when we decided to go back, it was more preventative. Like we're in a good place, but we want to maintain this.
Yes.
Like, I think you and I we were talking about the gym earlier.
Yes.
Like when you go to the gym, if it hurts,
Yeah.
you still got to keep going back.
Yes.
So we're kind of in like the maintenance phase. We're like, yeah, we like where we're looking right now.
Yes.
We want to keep this physique. So what are some of the common reasons why couples pursue therapy?
Yeah. What I've seen most often, people tend to pursue therapy because they're not fighting fair, right? And for the most part, they will say, we're here for communication issues, right? But that's so vague. Everyone knows how to talk, right? So it's not, it doesn't seem, it's not as surface as it seems. And usually when they come and they say communication issues, then it's my job to play detective. And I ask a million questions because I need to get to know them as a couple. I need to get to know them as individuals. And then I begin to realize it's really not about communication. It's about how she spends money and he's trying to save.
But because you hear like every problem is you have a fight and it's not about the thing. It's always about communication. You're saying it's
Exactly.
never about communication.
It's not usually about communication. It's usually about each person's belief about life, right? It's about how each person was raised. I was raised in a family where, one person might say, I was raised in a family where we never talked back to our parents. So that would explain why when y'all have an argument, he wants to hash it out and she just clams up
Right.
and he gets really mad about that. And you think it's about communication.
Do you have a camera in here somewhere?
No,
Like,
honestly.
is that you
because-
the entire time watching?
Wow, because our most recent session,
Yeah.
we were talking about attachment styles.
Yes.
And what was it again? Remind me. So there was
We paid the $170. So avoidant and anxious.
Avoidant, there's
Yes.
secure attachment, there's insecure attachment.
Oh, we only got two.
yeah.
There's-
She just
We got the
categorized-
starter
yes.
package.
Well, to be quite honest, when you go to therapy, the therapist is eventually going to get around to your childhood because it speaks to, it really speaks to your beliefs about life and what was deposited in your soul. Because all of us as adults, we carry around a childhood version of ourselves on the inside, right? And that child is always looking for protection, security, and we look for that in our relationships as well, right? And so as adults, we're trying to take care of that child, but we don't really know that in general, right? But the therapist kind of brings that out. People also come because of infidelity, right? This person cheated or was cheating, or they flirt too much and it hurts my feelings. Or sometimes they come to couple therapy because of money issues. Sometimes they come to couple therapy because not only are they not fighting fear, but they may have been there may have been some physical issue in the past that they're trying to get a relationship back
Like a
together.
physical abuse kind of
Yeah,
situation?
Yeah. Or maybe not, yes. Generally, people who are abusive in general, they're not willing to come to therapy. But sometimes if the argument gets out of hand and someone gets shoved and the shover is very remorseful, sometimes they end up in therapy because they want to figure out how did we get here and they want to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Are people, in your experience, are they ever doing it to kind of check a box for the other person?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
What
does that dynamic look like?
Well, the other reason that people come to therapy is because the relationship is sometimes on its last legs, and one person is desperate to save it, and the other person's like, "Well, whatever, I'll come, but don't expect much."
And
Right.
you're paying.
Yeah, exactly. Right, and so a lot of people will go to therapy as a last ditch effort, and they're really just setting themselves up to fail. The therapist can't fix that at that point. If you are coming just to check the box to say, "Well, I tried that," right? Then there really isn't a hope, right? You're just coming to warm a seat.
And, okay, so finally, what do you want couples to know about couples therapy?
Couples therapy is not a magic potion, right? You can't have this thing that's brewing in your relationship and go to therapy and it's going to fix it like that. Couples therapy is a tool. It's something that you can use, but at the end of the day, it takes commitment between both parties.
And between sessions as well.
And between sessions, right? Oftentimes, I speak about this sometimes online. Oftentimes, people come to therapy, and after a session, they they leave feeling upset and thinking, well, this isn't working because we're supposed to be happy. The truth of the matter is couple therapy is going to bring up all of your junk, right? And so sometimes you will leave feeling uncomfortable. But I want you to press into it and go back for the next session and talk about how you lived through the week through that discomfort. Did you talk it through? Did you implement any of the discussion strategies that the therapist recommended? Don't just say, well, I feel uncomfortable and this isn't working and I'm not going back, right? The thing that I want people to know about relationships is that in order for your relationship to be successful, there must be kindness, right? A lot of people overlook.
Speaking of looks,
between you two, it's hilarious. It's something that sounds really simple, but it is so important. Just being kind to each other. What is your greeting to each other like at the end of the day when you're leaving for work or you're going out to manage all of the issues in the world and then you come home? Are you coming home to a hostile environment, right? Are you coming home to someone who will understand? If there is unkindness and judgment in my relationship and I've made a huge mistake with money, then I'm going to hide that. And then that's going to create a huge problem, right? But if I know that there's going to be kindness, even if I made a big mistake and the answer is going to be, Roxanne, you really shouldn't have done that. But if it's going to be said in love and kindness, then I am more willing to admit. I'm more willing to share the secret. I'm more willing to say, when I was 18, this thing happened to me, right? But if I'm in a relationship where there is, a cutting kind of conversation and unkindness, then I'm going to hold on to that secret. And secrets in relationship kill relationships.
And it's a shame, right? You're just mired in shame.
Yeah.
And plus,
Exactly.
you get, you did a bad thing. Let's go to Niagara Falls and we'll win it all back. Right? Let's take another 75 grand and red is going to hit this time.
I'm not the financial expert, so I'm not even going to touch that.
I mean, clearly neither am I. I'm like, gamble it back.
I mean, transparently, when you mentioned be kind, I looked at Kolter more so because like he's always calling me out on that. He's always telling me ease. He's always reminding me of the word ease.
Yeah.
And I think like as a Black woman especially.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's just always...
I'm not saying that part. I'm not telling Black women
No,
what to do.
you
I want to make that abundantly clear.
You could not. But like just the reminder that I don't have to handle it all by myself.
Yes.
I don't have to be strong Black woman archetype.
Yes.
Especially when I come home, like I can trust my partner to
Yeah.
release that and be vulnerable, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
So
But
like
you can kill
mentioned
bugs. It's
I
you
refuse
can
to. You can do that.
You can
As
kill a bug.
a man, you can kill the bugs.
Okay. Well,
Yes. You handle the bugs, Kolter.
Therapist agrees.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But in relationships, we have to also give each other the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. Assume that the other person has your best interest at heart, even if it looks difficult in the moment. And if you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that your person has your best interest at heart, then you know that even if we have an argument, then we're going to talk about it later and we're going to get through this, right? Just the person that you fell in love with, keep that person in mind. Oftentimes when people come to therapy and they have this explosive thing or they're arguing or they're no longer getting along, I ask them, what was the relationship like when you got married, when you met, when you committed to each other?
Hectic.
I'm here like, yeah.
We got married at City Hall 3 months before moving across the world.
Well, but you were in love with each other, right? Yeah. And how do we get from there to don't even look in my direction, right? So we talk about, what happened to flip things around so that we can find a roadmap to getting back to the love and the kindness and the security.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like we create avatars, like because we fill in so many of the blanks, right? We never have all the information. And to your point about giving people the benefit of the doubt, I mean, I'm guilty of this. I think most people are guilty of this. You're like, well, you did this because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
And then I assume that that's because of this. And then it's like this cascade of emotions where you're like, well, that's really frustrating because you did something similar another time. And I think that was on purpose as well.
Yeah.
And so we're projecting these stories onto the other person.
What you said about stories and assumptions, we tell ourselves these stories. We weave these things in our minds, these elaborate stories. And if you were, Dom, if you have the story about why Kolter did this thing or that thing, and you go to him with that, he will likely say, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Right.
Right. But we now respond from the stories that we have in our mind, and we walk around and we're mad because we think he's thinking this thing when he actually wasn't. And so sometimes we have to, from a place of vulnerability, share the story and say, here's what I'm thinking. Is that what's actually happening for you? And allow them to say, well, maybe a little bit, or actually that was the furthest thing from my mind. I wouldn't think that about you in a million years. So we can go back to living from a place of ease and knowing that the other person does have our best interest.
It's like when you wake up from a dream where, like, your husband cheats on you, for example.
Oh, gosh.
And then you just want to wake up and say...
I wouldn't even do that in a
Kolter
dream.
is like,
so,
what?
Yeah. Take another Ambien.
Yeah.
We're done with the dreams, I think. I think we're done with the dreams.
Well, we got some questions submitted from some of our listeners.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to read some of them out to you. We have a couple via audio as well. Our first question is, I'm a student therapist. What certifications and courses do you recommend?
Okay, so certification and courses, I would say some standard ones would be things like narrative, cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, acceptance and commitment therapy, which is also called ACT, something that's a really, really great intense therapy, but for trauma, called EMDR.
What does that stand for?
It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Damn.
It sounds dangerous, but it isn't.
Sounds like a bomb.
It's a really in-depth and very effective treatment for trauma.
Wow.
But outside of the trainings and courses, I would recommend that you connect with an experienced therapist, get under their wing, practice in someone else's practice, or maybe work for an organization. Get some, find your sea legs, get some experience under your belt, working with people, developing your style and your approach, figuring out, do I like working with this kind of person? Do I like working with that kind of person? Before you launch out on your own, so that you can gain some confidence in your work.
What's the next question?
You want to take the next question?
I have a question from me, but I'm going to say that to the end.
He's going to air out our laundry. Okay. How do you deal with your parents' nasty divorce when you're in your 30s?
That is a difficult one because...
Hold on, did my parents tell you something? Are your parents splitting up? What's going on here?
Divorce is never easy for the children, regardless of how old you are. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes adult children think, well, I'm an adult. This shouldn't impact me, but it does. These are your parents. And their union is something that is as sure to you as the ground that you're standing on, right? So when the relationship falls apart, it's challenging. If it's a nasty divorce, you want to try to avoid taking sides. They each have their reason for why they're splitting up. And when it's nasty, they have gotten to the point now where they hate each other. But you still love them, right? Individually, even if not collectively. And so you have to love them separately. Try not to love them. Try not to talk to your mom about your love for your dad, because that's just it's going to fuel the fire, right? And vice versa.
Yeah, read the room.
Exactly. So be mindful now that holidays are going to be different. If you have children, that's going to also, you're going to have to spend some time explaining to your children what that means and why things look the way that they do. Give yourself some grace. You've never done this before. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to put your foot in your mouth. It's all right. This is your parents' battle. Let them fight it. Don't give them advice, and don't take sides.
What about when the parents are like, because it's probably going to happen at some point, like taking a dump on the other parent, right? Almost like forcing you to well, you empathize with me, right?
Yeah.
My childhood.
I would encourage you, this is going to be difficult for anyone, but I would encourage you to do what you can to set some boundaries. Sometimes as adults, it can be hard for us to set boundaries with our parents because we still see ourselves as their kids. But you're an adult now, and it's okay to say, parent, don't ask me to pick sides. I really don't want to. Or can we change the subject? This is too difficult for me.
Or pull out the checkbook. Who's giving better Christmas presents?
I'm coming to hang out, but if all we're going to do is take a dump on mom, then I'm not staying.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to drop this off and I'm going to leave. I can hang out with you as long as we don't talk about this, this, and this, and this. Right? And they're going to say, well, you're taking sides. No, I'm not taking sides. It's just really difficult for me. And I can't stay if we're going to argue about the other person.
And it's tough because you want to be supportive, right?
Exactly.
Like at the end of the day, you still, in many cases, you love your parents, right?
Yeah.
I think even when they're going through a situation like this,
course.
you've got a lot of thoughts, you've got your own feelings, and but you want to support them, but you don't want it to be like a toxic,
Exactly. You're a person too, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Roxanne looked right into my soul. Thank you. I needed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually do want to hop in with my own question there because how do you say your parents divorced in your childhood? Like my parents separated when I was a kid. How do you avoid bringing that trauma or that difficulty that you witnessed into your own relationship?
I too am curious about that question. Yes. My parents have been together for 40 years, for the record.
I encourage you to be curious towards yourself, right? So what that looks like is asking yourself, where did that come from? Right? Why am I responding in this way? What is it that is a throwback from my childhood? You can ask yourself. A lot of people think that they have to go to therapy. Well, sometimes you go to therapy because you don't know the questions to ask yourself, right? I'm spilling a little bit of the therapist tea here, but ask yourself these questions like, what is it that happened in their relationship that I don't want to see in mine? Right? Why am I screaming when he left the milk on the counter? Is this something that my parents did? Or, was this a way that I was parented that I don't want to see here? How do I want things to be different? And I would encourage you to share that with Kolter, or if you're listening, share that with your partner, so you can hold each other accountable, right? What is it that made you really, really sad about your own your journey as a child and your parents parenting you, that you don't want to see replicated in your relationship, right? When I was a kid, there was a lot of yelling in my household. And I'm not going to lie, I have 2 children and sometimes my voice gets elevated, but...
Can I get a taste of that? Like, what's yelling for Roxanne? Not in a weird way. A little bit in a weird way.
But I catch myself and I bring it down. And, I'm so thankful. I know not everyone has a 2-parent household, but I'm thankful that in my home we have a 2-parent household, because sometimes I say to my husband, I am about to sell these children to the highest bidder. You need to step in here because I need a break.
Not a joke I could make.
No.
I'm not going to laugh at it either. Not allowed to laugh at that one.
No, not a joke you can make at all. And so he would step in and I might go for a walk or have a shower or whatever. But on evenings when he is not home and I'm losing my patience, I will say to my kids, listen, mommy's about to start yelling. You need to go brush your teeth now, right? And they look at me like, okay, she means business. And they do what they do what they need to do. But I am mindful not to start screaming. And even if I do mess up, I will find some quiet time, probably at bedtime, and I will say, Mommy yelled today, and I know it made you feel really sad, and I'm really disappointed, and I apologize.
That difference,
which is one thing that did not exist when I was a child.
Caribbean parents.
Caribbean parents. Yes, ma'am.
Again, not allowed to laugh at that one.
But yeah, asking yourself, where did this come from? What can I do differently? What is it that I saw in my childhood that I don't want to replicate in my own parenting or relationship? Talk to your spouse about that. Talk to your partner about that, and hold each other accountable.
Baby, Father's Day is around the corner, and you're probably going to crap the bed like you do every year. You're like, what do you give Dad? What do you give Dad? You give him some sports memorabilia? You give him, what do you give your dad for?
A call.
Do you even give him that?
My stepdad.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ron.
Shout out to Ron. Papa Ron, what's going on, son?
I'll call him. I'll call you.
Alaska Rhodiola. That's what we're getting Dad for Father's Day. It's gonna contribute to the libido.
I'm sorry.
It's gonna help with it can improve physical stamina. It can
decrease stress.
Decrease a little stress.
Which I may need more than him. Why are we talking about Ron's libido?
I wasn't referring to Ron's libido, but I mean, like, 90, I hope he's still getting it done. And by it, I mean your mom.
Ew,
I'm also a dad.
I will fight you.
I'm also a dad. And here's the thing. Maybe you get one for you get one for dad with the Father's Day BOGO deal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Segue. Yes. I often use it in my morning protein shake. So I put it in there, a couple of drops. Like you said, increases stamina,
Yeah.
I guess.
Trust me.
Decreases stress.
You were going for rounds.
And above all, increases energy because I'm someone who can't drink coffee. So this is really helpful after a workout to maintain my energy throughout the rest of the day.
You're killing it. Use promo code PLAY15, PLAY15 at checkout. Normally you save 15%, but for Father's Day, that code will get you a second one. So you got to put 2 in the cart. We'll be cheersing these. And then play 15 and you'll get a second one for free. Father's Day, akroseroot.com. Yeah, the apologizing to your child thing. Like,
Yeah.
huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good, because then she'll go, and we say, like, you don't have to accept my apology.
Yeah.
Like, acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah,
you
yeah,
hurt
yeah,
me. But,
yeah.
you need to take time. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
My question's very stupid.
No stupid questions.
You haven't
Wait
heard
for
it yet.
it.
Where do y'all get your Kleenex, your tissues? Because, like, every therapist that I've been to,
Yes.
I feel like you can't get those at the supermarket. You're not buying those at Costco. Do you have, what's like the therapist Kleenex hookup?
Okay. I'm not allowed to. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want you to break the code.
Brand here, but no. There's no code. I just go to the drugstore and I just buy whatever the softest one is. I buy the one with lotion.
Ooh, Cottonelle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's key.
Yes. Thank you for your question, Kolter.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
It's
that.
important.
You want to read the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. What seems to be the most common quality in couples who make it through rough patches, like when you have a couple that comes in? And actually, before you answer that, a quick yes or no.
Yeah.
Can you tell sometimes when a couple comes in, you're like, oh, I don't think this one's working out. I don't think this one's going to happen. I already got a favorite.
I can usually, not the favorite, but whether or not they're going to make it, I can usually tell by the end of the second session.
But you'll still charge them for another 10, right?
Well,
you got 2 kids.
I don't say to them, stop it. I don't say to them, this is not going to work. I challenge them, right? I will, I am nice and I am lovely in session because I believe in relationships. Like I've been married for 21 years. Like I believe in relationships, right? And I believe that they can go the test of time. Sometimes I have to call people on their junk. Like I will say, what are we doing here? Right? Why are we here? Do you want to be married? Do you still want this? Because if you don't want this, we can figure out how to separate amicably. But if you want this, then you need to tap in. Right? I call people on their stuff. Don't be looking out the window when we're having your partner is crying and right? Like what's going on here? But I don't just say stop looking out the window. I will say something like, I noticed that you looked out the window when she was crying. Is this making you uncomfortable? Right? What about this is making you uncomfortable? I call people on their stuff.
Just like, nice, a dog out there. Then everybody looks like, oh my God, it's a wiener dog. Look at that. He's got little boots on.
But, what is it that helps couples get through the rough patches? The couples who are successful, I alluded to it earlier, it's the kindness. It's the believing in the other person's, having their back, knowing that the other person has your best interest at heart, understanding that even though you yelled in my face last night, there must be a reason for that because I know you to be a good person. We've been together for 6 years and I've never seen this side of you. I know that there's something going on, right? And it is believing in the other person's inherent goodness and wanting for that person, your desire for that person's happiness. It trumps everything.
A win for them is a win for the collective you.
Exactly. If you come in session and you're just like, me, and you're not willing to unpack why it's just me, that relationship isn't going anywhere. And I'm usually able to tell. When someone comes in and they're all, it's their fault. It's not me. It's always them. And we start to unpack why it is that you think this way. Talk to me about, your experiences in life that would cause you to feel, because there's this book that Oprah wrote with someone. I can't remember the names right now. I'm sure I'll remember on my, when we're done. But the gist of the book is what happened to you. And we usually say to people, what's wrong with you? Why are you like this? The question that I like to ask is, what happened along the way? Because no baby is born this way, right? Something happened along the way for you to think that every time something goes wrong, it's the other person's fault. And so my job now in couple therapy is to unpack that, for all of us to unpack that together, to find out how you came this way so that you see the other person's troubles as their fault. The relationship's troubles is their fault. But if you are absolutely unwilling to pack that, if you're unwilling to turn the mirror towards you and to figure out what's going on here, then the relationship is, it will likely be short-lived.
So it's a willingness to embrace vulnerability.
100%.
Okay.
It's hard, because it's
No.
like, no, but it's hard to constantly, when someone is doing something that's pissing you off, or doing something that is
Like what?
that is crossing your boundary, for example. So your example of he screamed into my face yesterday, which he's never done. Let me make that very clear. But
He's screaming mine though.
Okay.
gotta scream back at me.
But like, if Kolter were to scream in my face, it would take a lot out of
Yes.
me to, number one,
Not murder me.
okay.
Yes.
Number two, I guess, so it's a balancing act. It's how many times can you say this person is acting out of character and I'm going to be empathetic towards that? And then, also saying you're acting out of pocket too much.
Right.
I'm not going to accept this anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there are times, and I see this often in relationships that are abusive, right? If this is something that's happening all the time.
Right.
What's going on for you that allows you to accept that?
Right.
Right? Usually there is an issue of worthiness there. I don't think too much of myself, and I think that this is what I deserve, right? So if the relationship is abusive, that in itself is a problem, right? And we need to address that, why the person is that way, and why you're accepting that, right? But if you have a loving relationship as you've had over the years, and then one day out of the blue you have an argument, and Kolter, you do something out of pocket, of course, Dom is going to be upset. She's going to call that out, right? And when you come to session, as a therapist, I will say, okay, so this is clearly out of character. What is going on, Kolter? And we will unpack, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're running out of money to run the household and there's some stress, something that's stressing you out that you haven't told her, and you just ran out of grace and you just kind of lost it. That is understandable, and we can work through that. There needs to be some kind of apology, remorse, making up for it, and acknowledging that I don't want to do this again. So how can we work through what's going on for you so you don't get to this place with her again?
What if I send her a meme that says "hurt people, hurt people"? Just saved you $200.
I can't.
We've got an audio question, and then
Yes.
we've got a rapid fire round. We're going to ask you to solve and referee some of our fights, and hopefully, prevent the divorce here.
Yes.
Hi, so my question would be, what is the most common quality that you find within couples who can make it through the rough patches in relationships? Thanks.
She sounds like she's in one.
People who make it through rough patches, again, are kind with each other. They see the goodness in each other, and they're committed, right? There's commitment. Now, I'm not saying if you're in a dangerous relationship, you need to keep yourself safe, right? But if you are committed to seeing this through, then we do what it takes, right? If you are only in this relationship because your partner has money, then when the money dries up, you're out the door. But if you are committed to seeing this through, then if we're sharing one slice of bread, then we're sharing that one slice of bread.
Oh, shout out to that.
Right? Tom was like, I'm not here for that.
We were
life.
both broke, and we're still kind of broke.
Right. It's the commitment. It's
Right.
you know, my own partner always says, if we get to a place where we don't want this relationship anymore, we have to earn our way out of it. We have to say
Damn.
we've done absolutely everything and there is definitely no stone left to be turned. Then we can say, okay, we've done everything and we're done.
You want
But-
to talk about a writer for Bridgerton?
Coming from my bag.
Yeah, it's definitely the kindness, empathy, seeing yourself, being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, the benefit of the doubt, and the commitment.
Hey Dominique, hi Kolter. My question was, how do I get my partner to understand that texting me more frequently doesn't necessarily mean better communication? Thanks, guys.
Oh, I hate the text.
Texting, I would assume that you have told your partner. So first things first, if you have not verbally told your partner, please tell your partner. Don't texting me isn't going to help, right?
We're not mind readers. You need to tell me things if you want me to do them.
The thing about the written word is that we can read that thing over and over and over. And the more we read it, the more we insert our own thoughts between the lines, right? And so it's really important to verbally go to your partner and explain that and say, when you text me, these are the things that I'm assuming underneath your tone. I can't read tone. Please don't text in all caps. It sounds like you're shouting.
Right.
Like all those pieces, right? Text message it's a mode of communication. It can help when you're in a pinch, but it's not going to take the place of a meaningful conversation. It's not going to help you be closer to each other. It can actually create distance. So I would definitely go to your partner, explain all of these things, and have the conversation face to face.
You know what's great, real quick? If you need to send a message like that and you don't have time for a phone call necessarily, but you need to communicate information, I know that like everyone hates a voice note, but you're able to convey tone.
Yeah.
So like a few times that I've had to send a message and say something that like is serious, but I don't want to sound like a dick.
Yeah.
I will say that, I want you to hear my voice when I'm saying
Yes.
this,
I will say one thing, that sometimes vulnerable conversations are hard, right? So, for example, I have a preteen son, and when he wants to talk to me about something serious, he'll say, "Can we go for a walk?"
No.
Or,
Is this the one you love the most? The sporty one, I think, right?
or "Can we go for a drive?" He'll say, or "Can we have a bedtime chat?" So he's in bed under the covers, and I'm sitting at the end of his bed, and we're not looking at each other face to face. Because
Easier to talk that way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. Because face to face, it feels more vulnerable. And sometimes, and I am saying this, I'm using generalizations here. Sometimes men have a difficult time being vulnerable. And so if your partner is texting you, sometimes it can be because this is a male partner, he might be having a hard time saying how he feels to you face to face. So read the text and then go back for conversation. Say, I read your text. I completely understand. Here's what I think. You can respond to the text in person.
It's better, like getting a voice note at least is better than having Siri text me. Because Siri will put those passive aggressive periods everywhere. And I'm thinking, why is he so mad?
The voice,
Yes.
like the voice messages sometimes, like, again, it's a lot to ask of someone.
Yeah.
Because you can glance at a text, like you said earlier, Roxanne.
Yeah.
It's just great for raw information.
Yeah, for sure. And not every, to the voice note piece, I get it, but sometimes you're not in a place where you can listen to a voice note.
Yes.
Please.
Like church or a meeting?
My God, in a
Or
meeting.
like mentally. Okay, yeah.
And sometimes they're podcasts all in their own. It's like
Yeah.
they're long.
Podcast.
Cut it at a minute.
Yes,
Truly.
Yes.
All right, before we let you go, we want you to referee, if you would be so
I
kind.
will try.
And then just tell us which one.
Just explain to
It's
Kolter
correct here.
why he's
So-
wrong.
Oh, gosh.
Exactly. Cool.
You go first. Feel free to lose.
I'll go for, okay. So we'll do one each, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm constantly asking Kolter to clean up after himself.
Yes.
Caribbean
How
household.
do you know?
Caribbean. Yes, she says.
I'm just okay. Keep going.
Because my shirt's wrinkly, you're like, I assume.
So I've gotten to the point. I mean, we were talking earlier about like, balancing, having empathy, and then just putting your foot down, right? So I'm at the point where my foot is down, okay? 10 toes. So I'm at the point where I don't clean up after him anymore. I will just move his mess to his side of the bed. And my side is clear, and I will happily sleep and turn over and go to sleep. Can you please explain to him why that is the path I've taken now and he should correct it?
Okay, so it's challenging refereeing, but I will try. So she's sick and tired. She's just done. And if you have been having this fight your whole relationship, then I think she's at this point now where she's saying, you should know that this bothers me. I will say that sometimes people think that couples who have a good marriage or a good relationship shouldn't argue, or we shouldn't get angry with each other. And I often say that arguments or anger is something that actually brings you a little bit closer, because if we get to the place that we're arguing about something, it means that I really care about this thing. And the other person should now respond in love, recognizing, oh, this thing that I do makes my partner really, really angry. So out of love for my partner, I am going to adjust my behavior because I want to make my partner happy. So the question, Kolter, is how much do you want to make your wife happy, and why are you not cleaning up after yourself?
Just to get laid twice more a week. Here's a thing. So when one partner says, I want you to clean up your stuff, and the partner, the receiver of that, the messy person, makes an effort, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
it's a demonstrable effort.
Yes.
Is some credit due? That's
yes,
question
100%.
one.
The
Thank you very
effort
much.
needs to be acknowledged, or else there is no encouragement to keep going.
Sure.
Right? Exactly.
Sure.
And then what if the person who's upset with the mess leaves, I don't know, her goddamn fake eyelashes all over the house, including sometimes on my laptop?
So
You both need to clean up after each other.
Yeah.
After each other?
No, but after yourselves.
And
Okay.
stop being a hypocrite, right? Stop being a dirty hypocrite.
So we don't name call.
No.
Thank
No?
You
Thank
might not. I do. So
It's not going to bring you closer to each other. But I think it's fair to say, okay, if you want me to clean up after myself, you have to clean up after yourself too.
But I don't want to give I'm not going to do it unless you do it.
No.
It's
No. You don't have to
it.
say that. You can just say,
Pick 'em up.
if you want me to clean up after myself, I need you to clean up after yourself too. Or
also-
this is something that I know that this bothers you and I'm trying. This is something that bothers me. I need you to try here too.
Let's try and exercise all of us together, and we're just gonna pantomime this. Here's what we're gonna do. When we get home at the end of the day and I'm gonna peel this off. That feels so good. Maybe instead of just like, I'm gonna put it right on the table, we go to the garbage can, which automatically opens when your hand's in front of it, and we go boop. And then, of course, because it's a fake eyelash and it has glue on it, it's going to stick to your finger. So you'll need to take your other hand and take it off. But it's stuck to this hand now. So then you need to get a paper towel and take it off, and then you're done.
So here's what's going to happen when people live in close proximity. They're going to annoy each other.
And
Yes.
buy a bigger house.
Right? Oh, no, that's not the answer.
In this economy, I know.
The answer is to recognize that the other person is human, and we are going to do things that annoy each other. But you also need to respond to your partner saying, this annoys me, right? Respond. And
How?
Respond by doing the thing that is asked, right? Don't leave your glass on the counter, wipe up after you do the dishes, whatever it is that annoys you, clean the bathroom every once in a while, whatever it is that is annoying your partner, adjust your life to that in order to make your partner a little bit happier. And when you recognize that your spouse has adjusted, acknowledge it. My husband isn't a fan of cooking, but when he does, I acknowledge it. Thank you. That makes my life a lot easier. It's one less thing that I have to worry about. And he walks away feeling a little bit, feeling a little bit awesome.
Yeah.
And it encourages
baby girl.
him to do
Okay.
that. It encourages him to do that another time,
Yeah.
right? Which makes everybody happier.
Dom's late for everything.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Is this your
We're
good
not
question? Or are
throwing
you
our
just
people under the bus today.
No, there's no bus. There's no bus. We're under something. It's the main floor, not a bus. How do we get places on time? How do we get out the door when we're supposed to be? Because I've tried everything. I've tried.
No, let me tell you what he's tried.
No,
because
it's
when we
my
moved
turn.
in together,
It's
he would
my
turn off
turn.
the light in the room. As I'm like putting on my eyelash, for example,
Yeah.
he'll just turn off the washroom light. We're late. That's not going to rush me out the door. That's going to
not
make
helpful.
me rush into
That's going to make her
That's-
angry. Sorry, it's going to
That's
increase her anger.
2010 Kolter. That's not 2024
Go
Kolter.
ahead. Go ahead.
2024 Kolter is an app on the phone that turns them off.
I want you to explain to her why being on time is important to you.
Can I do that now?
No.
No, thank you. Good. Good.
But a part of it is it is about letting your person know what's going on for you. Not why it makes me upset that you're late, but why being early or on time is important to me.
Because we're going to lose the reservation. And I'm trying to get home in enough time to like clap them cheeks.
But not just about why you need to get to where you're going, but why being on time is important to you. Not on time for the reservation or on time for the movie, but just on time in general.
Because I feel like my time's being respected.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like I have worth and value.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you are not making an effort, Dom, to be on time, then he is feeling disrespected. Like what is important to him is not of worth and value. And I know that you value him. I know that you think
Just wanted to see what the face looked like.
He's worthy. I know that you love him, right? So if you in relationships in general, again, these are generalizations, men tend to value feeling respected and women tend to value feeling loved and admired, right? Not that women don't need to be respected, because we do, and not that men don't need to be loved and admired, because they do. But men value work, being respected. These are things that they stand on, right? And so you will get a lot more out of him if you show that you respect his time. And you will get a lot more out of her if you show her that she is loved and valued and admired and that you would do anything for her.
Including putting away my shoes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
We're gonna scream the moment you leave here.
Our next guest is a divorce lawyer.
No, hey.
Do you do that as well?
No, bitch,
do you
no,
have
sir.
a preferred vendor? She's sabotaging it so she can get the commission.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad I was here.
And next time we see you, it'll be in your office probably. So
Thank you so much to Roxanne Francis for being on the show with us today. We learned so much. And she, most importantly, told Kolter that he's wrong. So shout out to her.
were you even there?
Were you or were you ignoring
present.
once again?
I was present.
Was that the issue?
When she looked at you and said, "Stop leaving your goddamn fake eyelashes everywhere."
She didn't say that.
Also,
she didn't say that.
Kolter's a good man.
None of those words.
Kolter's
Don't put
you're
words
right.
into a black woman's mouth.
Kolter's
Don't
a
do that.
great man.
It's a good man.
There's
Savannah.
only one. Listen, when it comes to the mouths of black women, there's only one that I'm interested in, and it's yours. And it ain't words I'm putting in there. It is consensual penis. So, and also like my tongue when we make out,
Join us every Monday.
and a spoon of ice cream when you link arms and you're like you know. So, there's that.
I feel like you held back throughout the entire episode while she was here, and
Yeah.
you just waited for
Dude,
the opportunity to be
She's got
yourself.
like a doctorate. What? We have a couple of undergrads from a school that doesn't even exist anymore because they changed the name because of racism. Like, what?
Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. If you want to follow, you can follow him at Kolter Talks.
Buddy, that's where all the hot con is. Looking for that hot content. We had some good stuff on there. I had a video do 16 million views on Instagram. A reel with 16 million views. You know how difficult that is?
You know what? Don't follow him. It's just more of this. But you can follow me at
Unfollow her.
at dom.creates on Instagram or at domcreates on TikTok. You can see our P.O. box. I'm here on the screen.
Right here.
You gotta talk.
Send us some stuff. Send us some panties.
Do not send us panties, please. I own enough of those.
Send us a panty. One panty. A singular panty.
We'll see you next week on Monday. We upload every Monday. That was said very awkwardly, but we're getting into it. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. I love you. And I love you. You're great. I was right.